Hi, good morning. So today is the 4th of February 2021. I know it does say the 2nd of February 2021, but I assure you it is the 4th of February 2021. It is 8 a.m. in London. So, and every week now we do a webinar specifically for our developers, our ZP Zone developer members. So I do appreciate the fact that you come out every week and we do this webinar specifically for our members. So thank you very much. So let me just kind of go quickly to the agenda for this week. So I'm just going to turn down the volume, sorry. So this week, the agenda is going to be, we'll talk about the developer zone, we'll talk about some technical, and then I'll do a summary. So I'm just going to say hi to the, all right, great, Hasim is here. Right, so let's get on with the agenda. So thank you guys for being here, and we're going to talk about the developer zone very quickly. I'm also going to do then some technical and then just do a summary. Now, I know I've mentioned the developer zone a lot, but I want to talk about where we want to go with this a little bit. So as you know, because you're listening to this webinar and because you get the private invitation every week, it makes you a member of our ZP developer zone. And in this year, we're still carrying on with our webinars. And I was, talking to Hasim a few weeks ago, and Hasim said, he's a member of a few technical societies, and this is probably the only one where actually, we do a webinar, every week. So there's an event every week for our members. So it was kind of nice to get that feedback. Ray, I can see Romsey has joined us, so brilliant. All right. So we do a webinar every week. We are working on our ZP Developer Zone website, and we do have our ZP Academy. So I just want to say that what I'm intending to do is we're going to start running the webinar from the ZP Developer Zone. So every week you'll go to the ZP Developer Zone website, and then you'll be able to kind of watch the video from there. We have talked about that, the ZP Academy, and I am going to ask the members to start suggesting to us what courses we should be running on the ZP Academy. We've put some courses up there, and we've made some of them free, and I know that some of the members have, logged in and created accounts. So I want you, especially the guys with academic contacts or with academic roles, to start telling me what would benefit the students. So we do have the ZP Academy. I would be very much interested in your opinions about what content we should put up on there. We obviously have our ZP Developer Zone. And the course that I think is particularly useful at the moment for people is to take a look at course 2A1, which is electrochemical techniques for biosensor developers. Now, last week, we talked about mycotoxins, but in particular, we talked about aflatoxins. So I know that this was last week's discussion, and we talked about the direct and indirect methods of detection. We do have a video online, and I know that several of you have actually looked at that video. I know that Hasim sent the link out, so I'm glad that you guys got to see it. We do ask our members, what is it you would like to have, and yeah, it's interesting actually, because Hasim is asking the question, should the members be contributors? And I agree that they should be contributors, both potentially to the ZP Academy, to the ZP Developer Zone, and even to these webinars. I am very interested in sort of making these. Yeah, I agree, because Hasim is asking, should the members be contributors to the ZP Academy? And the answer is yes. And I'm very interested in potentially doing it. Some of the courses in the ZP Academy we might write the content, let's say in English, but I think we might do it in Indonesian, for example, voiceover, just to help people, get with the, with the content. So I know, I absolutely know that, I appreciate that English is the kind of international language of science, and we, if we go to any conference, then it's generally English. But I think it would be nice to start making some content in Indonesian as well. And as Hasim says, the members of the ZP Developers Zone have various expertise. So with the ZP developers, with the ZP Academy, we have put some courses up now, but I am very interested in, I can invite any of you to be contributors to that, and you can actually create your own courses or work on courses with us. Yes, so it can be done by Indonesians. So the quick answer to Hasim is yes, it can be, that can happen. And maybe Hasim and I should do one together, or do one, and that would be the kind of, the kickstart of this. So last week we did a video on aflatoxins. We talked about the direct and indirect methods. And what I'll do is, once we get this ZP Developer Zone website up a bit more, we'll start embedding the videos in there so it's easy to find them again. I just want to stay on the topic of aflatoxin just quickly for another week. And this is really kind of addressing you guys who are online at the moment. You're perfect people that I'm talking to. I'm suggesting, and I want to hear your feedback, that I understand that, aflatoxins are part of, if you get molds or fungi on vegetable matter or food matter, the aflatoxin can be a toxin that's kind of, in those molds or in those fungi. So I'm asking the question is, how are we going to get the sample to the sensor? So I'm suggesting, for example, that we would, sample the sample. Maybe this would be one way of doing it. Getting a brush and actually just brushing the mold, or brushing the brush across the surface and seeing if we can pick up the molds. Now we could use a swab as well. So, but I'm sort of, how do we actually get hold of the sample? So I'm imagining that, there's an inspector, in the fields, and they need to get hold of, they want to test whether the sample is there. Yeah, so Hasim is asking, could you check our members on the members list at ZP Developer Zone website? We can. Hasim is just asking me a question, and I'll answer it in a bit. So I'm asking the question here, which is, how are we going to get the sample when you're in the field or in the real world onto the sensor? So I'm asking myself, can we, can the inspector, take a swab or a brush? Can they take an Eppendorf tube and effectively wash the swab or the brush, let's say, into a buffer, and then they can pipette that extract or that suspension onto the sensor itself, and then the instrument can run the cyclovoltammetry, and they can get a result. Now, I think for me, most of the work is actually in this sample collection, sample preparation. So what I'm asking myself is, I really think we can actually do the analysis quite readily. We had a big discussion last week in the video about, doing the analysis, and I think we can do the analysis by electrochemistry. The question is now is, how do we get the sample? So I'm kind of interested in the thoughts of the ZP Developer Zone. Can we swab the sample or brush the mold off the sample and then extract it into an Eppendorf like this, effectively give it a little shake so we can try and do some extraction, and then pipette it, as I say, in step 4 here onto the sensor, and then in step 5, we can do the analysis. If we can do all of that, then it would be quite easy to get it onto the, it'd be fairly doable to get it onto the FoodSense platform. So if you guys are interested, then I'm also interested in how to actually get the sample. So that's a simple, let's say, idea for how to collect the sample in the real world. I did have a look into this, and I think this is going to be obvious to you guys that people are doing a sort of form of solid phase extraction. There's a lot of articles up on the Sigma Aldrich website about using SPE, solid phase extraction, for the cleanup of food samples. I saw sort of milk was up there, and maybe some grain. There was even some cannabis was up there. But people are very interested in being able to monitor aflatoxins, obviously, in food articles or food substances. And I think this is already known to you guys, but the product that they were using was Tox Aflazy SPE. And effectively what's happening is it's a solid phase extractor, but it's not extracting the aflatoxin. It's basically extracting all the other materials and allowing the aflatoxin to go through effectively the solid phase. Now, I saw one difficulty. Yeah, there we are. That's really good. So Hasim is saying that he will arrange with Romsia to see if there's a standard solution to the aflatoxins. I appreciate that. So with this solid phase extraction, effectively what they do is they have a solid phase in a column, they put the extract on top, and then they force it through the column. And as I say, you can find, I'm finding this kind of information on the Sigma Aldrich website, which is now the Merck website. So I just want to kind of reference that. The only problem is I noticed that some of these cartridges are like £3 each. And I think it's just because it's kind of low volume manufacturing for them. So I suspect that they can bring the cost down, but it was fairly expensive. Fairly expensive for the application, let's say. But I think if we can do if we can do the solid phase extraction, it's the same thing then. We can take the extract out, the cleaned up material, put it on the sensor, do the cyclovoltammetry, and if we can do that, we can get that then onto the FoodSense technology. So last week we talked about the analysis of aflatoxins, and this week, and Hasim, you're right, I really want to find out about how to actually sample and how to then get the aflatoxin sort of out of the fungi or the mold and into the liquid phase, so that we can then analyze it by electrochemistry. So I want to do this week, I wanted to do a sort of shorter presentation. It was quite a long presentation last week, so I wanted to be a bit more efficient with our time this week. I just want to kind of summarize work that we did last week and this week. So last week we did talk about the direct and indirect detection of aflatoxins by electrochemistry. There was a lot of literature, so clearly it can be done. We put a YouTube video out there about it, and I know that Romsia saw it because you commented upon it and I replied to you, so I appreciate that. Hasim shared that link, which is great. This week, I'm really trying to broaden this now and say, okay, we have discussed it, and I think you can electrochemically detect this aflatoxin. The next question then is, how do we actually sample and how do we do extraction? Brilliant. That's great. I can just see the chats going on online. So I'm very interested in the sample and the preparation. I think the simplest way to do it is to swab or to brush the surface that we're interested in analyzing, extract it into a buffer, and then put the buffer straight onto the sensor. That's not so dissimilar to what we do with the chili sensor. So, with the chili product, we take a sample of the chili, we dilute it generally 1 to 4, in buffer, and then we do an analysis. Can we do a similar thing with aflatoxin? I think the answer is we have to try. And if there's too many interferences, we can also talk about solid phase extraction. Now, Hasim, who's one of our key members of the ZP Developer Zone, he makes molecular imprinted polymers. So basically, he might have some knowledge about how we can make polymers for solid phase extraction. But not, I don't want to so much enrich the aflatoxins. I actually want the aflatoxins to pass through the, let's say, the packed column. But I want the all the other interferences to stick to it. So that's an idea as well, and we might have a discussion about that. So some next things. So just out of interest, at ZP, we are starting to do the synthesis of gold nanoparticles. And I mention it because I know that there's, we've as part of the ZP Developer Zone in the early days, there was a whole discussion about gold nanoparticles. So we are definitely starting to do the synthesis of gold nanoparticles. With April, we've been discussing Sura disease, and I'm very interested in returning to that. In the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about aflatoxins, and happy to carry that on. And we've also done a lot of discussion about PCR and polymerase chain reaction and DNA detection. So my question will be pretty soon to the ZP Developer Zone. What would you like us to talk about? Now, next week, at the moment, I don't have an agenda item that I'm going to talk about. There's no problems because between then and now, we'll have plenty of ideas. But if there's something specific that you want us to talk about, let myself know, let Hasim know, write it in the comments, and we'll try and cover it. And then lastly, I'm going to return to Hasim's point, which is we have the ZP Academy. I think we actually have a lot of students joining the ZP Academy, which is great. So I am interested in the ZP Developer Zone members making a contribution to the ZP Academy. So what I'm going to do, hi April, great. So April, I am asking the guys, what topics they would like us to sort of cover. So I obviously looking to you to help me with that as well. So next week, I don't have an agenda item yet. I am interested in hearing what you guys would like to talk about next week. And also, I just want to say, with the ZP Academy, we are able to offer courses online for free, which is great. If the ZP Developer Zone members want to be contributors or even create their own courses, then I'm very willing to invite you to be contributors to the ZP Academy. So what I'm going to do is, I've just heard Hasim mention that if you've got any questions, join us on Discord, on the Discord server, which I'm going to do. This video will go online and I'll share a link with you guys. I do appreciate, the questions regarding aflatoxins. I am genuinely interested. I think we can electrochemically detect it. And really the question then is how to do sampling in the real world. I have this vision that somebody will, suspect that there's a aflatoxin problem with some food storage or some food stored somewhere or some material stored somewhere. They need to go in there and do a rapid sample and a rapid extraction and a rapid detection. So I think that will be a very interesting topic to discuss. So I am going to go into the Discord server now. I do appreciate you guys all coming along, and I'm glad that some of you got to see the video last week. Like I say, last week's content is online. So it is 8:20. I want to be efficient with your time. As Hasim says, I will go on the Discord server now, and we can have a chat there. And thank you for being members of the ZP Developer Zone. It is appreciated.